successful at the animal trials, and so we decided to move directly towards human testing. From a diverse pool of applicants, a Mr. Mark Luffel was chosen for the first test subject. Being that he's already a computer science student here at Georgia Tech, he was already acclimated to a life in a sleepless state. While a patient benefiting from a much more natural sleep cycle would prove to be a much more interesting study, it was felt that a partially inoculated test subject would adapt much easier towards the procedure, with less chance of a psychotic episode. After discharge from the medical facility in convalescence, the subject was moved to a dorm facility where his behavior could be more closely observed. While the sleep-regulating facilities in the hypothalamus were disconnected successfully, psychosomatic sleep was still theorized as possible. In order to prevent a relapse, the subject was to exist in a controlled environment.
It's funny. I don't really miss sleeping at all.
Every evening around 10, I read a book or watch a movie. I feel so much more productive.
Sure, it's great. I mean, I enjoy the freedom to think, and most of the time I'm just like anybody else. Sometimes I sort of, miss my dreams.
In the early morning of the 32nd day following the hypothalamectomy, the subject began to experience debilitating migraines, which showed no signs of abating. Despite the increasing severity of the symptoms, no physical cause could be determined. A course of painkillers was prescribed, and the subject's condition began to improve. Despite this marked improvement, the subject's behavior became increasingly erratic. In addition to the prescribed regimen of painkillers, the patient was placed on an experimental antipsychotic, as his neurological condition was beginning to destabilize. The subject's behavior towards the research staff became increasingly violent and paranoid. There were several minor incidents, and a course of psychotherapy was suggested. The patient, before attempting to harm a psychiatrist, was violently paranoid, convinced that a massive conspiracy was stealing his dreams. The incident in question occurred a number of days after the start of therapy. On the 101st day of treatment, the research staff momentarily left the patient alone. No cause yet to be determined for what would occur in the 5 minutes in which no researcher was observing the subject, although it is theorized that a similar, possibly more violent incident would have occurred regardless of the observed behavior. In any event, upon returning to the apartment, the subject was in a fetal position on the floor of the room. The subject had slipped into a catatonic state, not unlike a coma. Despite this, the subject did indicate a much higher level of neural activity, not unlike the brainwaves of a sleeper experiencing a nightmare.
I found myself in this room, alone. I knew they were watching me. I knew I was in a new experiment. They were taking my dreams. They were selling my dreams to the highest bidder. I would find out one day. I'll figure it out. They can't destroy my sanity.
As best can be theorized, the appearance of the psychotic episode was such that the subject reshaped his perceived environment to his current understanding of reality. It was determined that the constant daily observation in fact amplified his need for sleep. In other words, the subject became trapped in a perpetual nightmare state. At this time, I would like to move on and discuss the second subject used in the experiment. Yes. As a footnote, the first subject never regained consciousness.
This is great. Alright. Alright guys, I think that's enough. Oh, this is classic. Alright, that's enough.